I'm going off without a script here, but... And it's very unprofessional, you can hear my mouse, but... There are, the Die of Death update, and what it's brought. It's pretty cool. You know, reworked killers, new skins, new maps, reworked maps. The entire game is, basically a whole different game. Not really. You still got the core mechanics, you still got whatever. But I'm making this video because I don't know, some people are like, "Hey, Allister, you're pretty good at the game. Can I also be good at the game?" It's like, you're pretty good at the game. God, what an intro. But I guess what I'll be doing here is just talking about what's changed in Die of Death and what you should be good at and what you should be aware of to hopefully improve and hopefully to win. So I guess the first thing that comes to mind when I watch people in my lobbies is their pathing, I guess. Pathing is generally one of the most important things in Die of Death. If you miss path once, you get hit, and then you're gonna get hit again most likely, and then it just continues on from there. Because every little movement, every little stud matters. And so you're probably thinking, alright, well, how do I path good? Well, it's a bit hard to just say an answer, I guess. Taking corners tightly, that's pretty important. Because in Die of Death, you don't really have acceleration. Like, as soon as you start moving at the speed you're moving at it. So, like, there's not too much of a reason to just hug the corners as much as you can. You might get stuck on, like, a little rock or something like that, but trust me, just when you're trying to, like, go places, just hug the corners that you're turning, and it will make your life a lot better. Some other thoughts is with people's pathing is waiting at check spots when they don't really have to. I'll see if I can provide an example, but hold on. Yeah, so right here, instead of waiting at this check spot, I start moving backwards towards this loop, and I just keep going. If I waited at that check spot earlier, I would have been at a closer distance, he would have had more stamina, probably wouldn't be able to land that cleave at the end there. And yeah, because like he was stuck waiting there, thinking he was gonna fulfill his stamina up while I waited there as well. But instead what happened was I started walking away, further away to a different loop. So he'd have less a distance, or more distance away from me. Which in turn means he'd have to chase me for longer, so he had to quickly start running again, which put him at a disadvantage. Because, he probably would have loved a full stamina bar, but he didn't get it. Continuing on with that, in pathing, I mean, sure, you can hug corners, you can do one loop, but like, if you're playing against an Artful, or like a Killjoy, or like anybody with an anti-loop, which is like a majority of killers, if not all, then you're gonna have to swap places eventually. You can't keep going around the same circle over and over and over. And so some people mess up in that department because they don't know where to go. Because they think, oh no, I have to go somewhere, but they don't think about where to go. And where you want to go can depend on a plethora of things, but majority of the time you want to think, is there a loop where I'm going to? Is there already things set up there? and how many other civilians are there that could help me. Because if you're being chased, well, one, you want to get away from the killer, obviously, and two, you want to make sure they don't catch up. So, if you're about to exit a loop, every single time, you want to subconsciously think whether or not, you know, is there a loop there? Is it already trapped? Could people help me out if I need it? And you don't need all three of these things, obviously. Sometimes it's just, it's not trapped, so it's fine. There's a loop, so it's fine. There's so many teammates there, it'll be fine. Because in an ideal world, sure, all of those will always be the case, like, oh yay, I can always just go over here, but eventually, you know, the trapper will actually trap the map, so you have to consider that, and, move accordingly. Another thing, that I have to say is, that's just my general advice, you know, because pathing, no matter what, will always be useful, whether or not you're being the killer, survivor, civilian, same issue deal. Whatever it is, you need to play differently according to what's going on in the match. Let's take... Who do we take for this, actually? Who's a good example? Killjoy is probably a really good case of here. I mean, I'm playing him right now, but anyways. Killjoy to play against. You're obviously going to play him you're going to play against him very differently than if you were to play against a pursuer, an artful, or anything. Because his abilities defines how he catches up, how he deals damage. And some people don't think that. Some people just like consider, oh yep, I just gotta run away. I just gotta go to the small loop and it'll be okay. No, it's not okay. You have to consider Killjoy's abilities and what he can actually do. Because Killjoy can really easily be countered, if I'm going to be honest. If you're at a tall loop and he uses fly, he has to go around the stupid object all the time, like the stupid wall in Temple, or the giant pillar in Baseplate, or that giant cube right next to me over there. I really hate that cube if I'm playing Killjoy. So you gotta consider, you know, what's the guy's abilities, what do you have to do in order to go against them. Another thing in, well, I guess out of Killjoy's case is the drop ability, Propel. People like to use it at the end of their stamina bar just to catch up, to deal a little bit of damage, and that's good because, you know, you don't have like an effective way of dealing with someone who jukes or keeps going around a small little corner thing, and that's a good idea. The problem is with bigger loops, or like people who know the fact that Killjoy can in fact jump over, is people will back up. And so like, that's the entire thing. If you see the fact that Killjoy is using their propel over a wall, don't go to the left or right, just back away. Because like, he's going to react to you going left or right, you can't really dodge that. Because, I mean, he has full control to go left or right. But he can't go that far towards you with his propel. Which means he should just back the fuck away instead of taking a corner. That's specifically for Killjoy, of course, because again, you'd play it differently if you're against Artful or against Badware. Because again, if you know their abilities, if you know what they're capable of doing, you need to play accordingly to counter that. And that's just not what some people do. Some people just go to small loops against Killjoy, which honestly does work depending on the object, but then they just fail to recognize when they're about to use Propel or Flight, and then they die shortly after. They have the idea almost there, but they never fully exploit Killjoy's weaknesses in order to do that. And so what I'm telling you to do right now is, if you're at a loop, a small one, where they can fly over, as soon as you see them start to use flight or start to propel, just back away. Back away as much as you can, try to get to like another loop, try to get to a tall object so they can't like fly above you, like the pillar in baseplate. That's all you gotta do. That's all you gotta try to do. Same with deploy. If they deploy kill bot and it's actually in a bad spot, get away from it. That's what you gotta do. Some other stuff, I guess. I guess just having good game sense is a pretty important thing. What do I mean by game sense? It's actually pretty tough to answer that, but you know, over time, while you're playing the game, you're obviously gonna get more experience. You're gonna know what things to do, what things to not do. But I guess the most important thing of game sense is your ability usage and what you should be doing in any given time during the match. For example, if you got a caretaker around, they're looking pretty hurt, they're looking pretty bad on chase, and you got something to help them out, obviously. Like, they're going to likely get a heal back in return, and your caretaker will live and hopefully be able to heal other people. And that's basically game sense. Because without any game sense, then what, you're like a drooling little baby, not helping the team, not doing anything. If you have like punch and hot dog, or like flashlight and hot dog, try to get the killer's attention. You won't always get the killer's attention because they might want to prioritize something more important to them, like a care pad or a disruptor that's being really annoying. But what matters is using your abilities to their fullest in a round. If you've got bugle, make sure to, you know, go up to people and support them. If you've got punch, try to use it every once in a while, you know, help out a person in chase. Now this is really easy stuff, and like, you should know this, but like, I guess the question now is, when should you do this? Because obviously there's going to be a killer around that wants to kill you, to not let you use those abilities. And the easy answer is, use your support abilities when the killer's away, and use the active abilities like revolver and gun and whatever. Revolver and gun, god, I'm a dumbass. But you know what I mean. It's easy on paper, but in execution, it's a bit different. Because in Adrenaline, well, with Adrenaline, I used it right there. You might think, why would I have used it there? It got me out of the chase really extremely quickly. I got hit, which means I got even more speed on top of the Adrenaline boost. And it got me out of a bad situation. And that's what's important. You want to use your abilities to get out of bad situations. Because, for example, if an Artful has no traps, no nothing, they're barely catching up to a survivor, you shouldn't punch them. You shouldn't try to get a gunshot off them. You should save it until there's a bad situation happening, and then you can use your abilities to help them out of that bad situation. Now this differs, of course, in circumstances, because, well, I mean, Caretaker, you obviously always want to heal people. Bonus pad, you just always want to place one of those down whenever. Banana, place those at loop spots where a person being chased might go next, or something like that. Adrenaline, just help someone out a bit in chase, always helpful. Hot dog can cloak you, whatever, who cares. But regardless, game sense. Use your abilities to their fullest and when they matter most. Not when an Artful is like in the corner, sucking his thumb. And who knows? You could have had punch off cooldown to save somebody, but no, you just didn't. Because you wasted it on a really stupid timing. Yeah, that's that section, I guess, done. And lastly, I guess is that I have to end the video here because I don't have too much other advice for survivor sides, at least, because I might give some killer advice because I don't know, I'm bored, I haven't had too much to do. So, maybe one day I'll do that. But until then, just remember the advice I gave you. Get better pathing, get better game sense, and you'll win rounds. That's really it. Actually no, I do want to say lastly, I'll give a little bit of advice for killer while I'm here. Killer game sense. You want to be aware of what abilities are stopping you from killing people. You want to be aware of the map. You want to be aware of how good the other players are at avoiding you. And you want to make sure that you're playing your character well, obviously. Because just like how the survivors are going to play different if you're playing like a badware, you're obviously going to play different if you're playing badware, because you can't just run and chase people. It's pretty stupid. Yeah, that's really about it. Just play in accordance to your character, killer, because they have their different strengths and they have their different weaknesses. And yeah. Cool outro, bro. Everyone's gonna love this outro. This is why you're such a good YouTuber. This is why you always upload. This is why... whatever. If you somehow got this far, comment skull camel. Skull camel emoji, skull camel.